Taking a chair with Okay, I'm Bob Louisel from Minnesota, and I'm just going to tell a few little stories about Terry because that's all I have are some stories, and I had to select. And the first one is he was on my doctoral committee. Jack Easley was my advisor. Jim Ross was on my committee. So were some others. At my doctoral oral hearing, the one where you get your permission to go on and do your dissertation based on the case study that I'd already done, they asked me to step outside, and I realized that this was not, in my naive way, that was the first time I realized this was not a relationship of equals. I stepped outside, and the door was shut, but I could hear some murmurs, and then the voices rising. And I could hear Jack's voice, but I could hear Terry's voice. I can't even remember if they let me go straight on with it or they made me make some changes like they had my writtens for my research methods part. I don't know if he started saying this before or after that hearing. And you know that Terry liked to swear a lot. I think he thought it was shock value. And Jim told me the next day that I had treated like he said, "Good morning." I just smiled. But I had been a longshoreman, and to me that was how you say good morning. Anyway, he liked to say sacrilegious things. And the thing that he said, and I don't know that it was related to that doctoral committee hearing, but I always liked when he looked at his colleagues, and then and he looked at me, and he said, if they had a doctoral student with an idea, they'd shoot themselves. And that was what he said. And I don't know who it was about, but I always enjoyed it. The other story I want to tell you is when he became involved with the hospice patients, he started sending me through email attachments with the case studies. And I read them. I said, "Can I use these in my graduate research methods course?" And he said, "Sure, go ahead." So I used them. And then Bob invited me down in 2014 over at his center and to give some, help him with lectures to his doctoral students from Thailand. And Terry showed up. In fact, he mentioned Some Still Do, which I still think is the very best case study out of some really good case studies that were done in that project. Then he left, but he forgot his purse or his wallet or whatever it was, and so I was sent a ticket after him, which was great because I got a chance to talk with him a bit in the parking lot while he waited for his ride. And he said, "Yeah, I want to write a book," and he was talking about things, and I said, In Defense of Storytelling was just a timely and very good piece. And Some Still Do was a great case study. But your work with hospice patients would be your best stuff. And he said, "I suppose I could find some symbols or paintings," or something. He started talking about it. There's one change, though, that he made to one of the earlier drafts. And I can't remember which one it was, or if it's one that's not in the book. But when it ends, I'm just going to use a name that wasn't in the book, like Joe, since I can't remember which case study it was. When it ends, and I still have the copy, but it's the original, but it says, goodbye, Joe. See you soon. And he left that out. That's not in the ending of any of the case studies in the book, Being with the Dying. But I loved that, and I thought it was his sentiment and mine also.
I'm reading the words that Karen Arnold sent. It's titled Words for TD. People who say they're sorry to miss an event aren't usually that sorry. I am really sorry. In fact, there is almost nothing that would stand in the way of my traveling anywhere at any time to remember Terry in the company of the amazing circle of people who loved him. Wouldn't you know it? This weekend, my only child is graduating from college. Gotta be there. Terry would have approved. When Sarah was born, TD sent a 5-word email. Pay attention. This is it. That was great advice, even better than the postcard he gave me years earlier proclaiming, dull women have immaculate homes. I've tried my best to live up to both of these precepts. One of Terry's last major trips was to Sarah's bar mitzvah in Boston. She knew him and Beeley's from trips to visit them in Tucson, in San Luis Obispo, and back to Urbana. So TD surely would have reveled in Sarah's graduation from Smith, and especially in her plan for a do-gooder career. To the extent that my husband Jeff and I shaped Sarah, we were in turn shaped by Terry. Terry had the generosity to bring me in as a genuine partner in the valedictorian research when I was just a few years older than the students we were studying. Neither TD nor I was a high school valedictorian. I fit the goody-goody profile at least. Terry did not. As he told it, he got A's and F's in high school. Then and always, he did what interested him and what he thought was important. When Terry retired, he sold the study to me for $1. All official. In addition to launching my career, the years-long valedictorian project oriented me to Terry's fundamental approach to research, storytelling. As we all know, Terry was a master teller of stories about people and places, from River Acres, Texas, to the bedside of the dying. The stories I've been remembering over the past months are the stories TD told about his own life. I'll give you some of the headlines of my favorite stories that Terry told about himself. Want the whole story? So sorry, Terry isn't here to tell the tales, but talk to each other until you find someone who can. Keep asking until you've heard at least some of the tales of TD. As a famous boy soprano, as a horseshoe champion, as the owner of a series of fishing boats named Symposium, allowing his secretary to inform callers that she was sorry, but the calendar says that Professor Denny is at a symposium. Or ask about these tales, very possibly apocryphal, but which I absolutely believe, choosing the army over jail. I didn't read that quite right. Anyway, that's the name of another story we should pursue. Choosing the army over jail. Using the Russian mastery to tutor an army officer who in turn introduced him to the great books and set him on a path to college. Realizing he wasn't cut out to be a therapist in his counseling practicum, when he would cry with his patients or offer to punch someone on their behalf. Those stories were about what it means to be human. Never mind research. What I really learned from him, that life is about doing what interests you and what you think is important. He taught me about being a mensch. Rabbi Mordecai Kaplan wrote a definition of holiness that fits Terry. Holiness is that quality of a person or thing that makes others more fully human. Terry would say to stop here and repeat this last quote aloud slowly. Okay, holiness is that quality of a person or thing that makes others more fully human. Terry made me more fully human. He did the same thing for a whole lot of other people. That's why we named our daughter after him, Sarah Denny Arnold. That's why he's still a holy presence in the world. Terry lives on in me because he shaped my way of being in the world. He lives on in Phyllis and his children and his grandchildren, in all of his students and friends. He will continue to live on after all of us are gone, through the people we, in turn, have had a hand in shaping. May Terry's memory be a blessing.